Last week, Bungie dropped some pretty substantial patch notes, including weapon rebalancing changes to underperforming archetypes and exotic weapon tuning that could have major impacts on the PvE sandbox next season. So today, we'll be taking a look at the upcoming changes and break down 10 weapons that are probably collecting dust in your vaults that could see a massive value surge next season. I'm Above, and if you enjoyed today's video, a like and subscription would be greatly appreciated. Now, let's get into it. Before we discuss buffs to specific archetypes, it's worth noting that all of the buffs discussed in today's video apply to both legendary and exotic weapon types. This means that exotic primaries will be getting better across the board, which is definitely needed if they want us to stop running double special. Starting things off, we have the auto rifle buff. ARs have been outshined by SMGs for quite some time now, with the last auto rifle meta taking us all the way back to Season of Arrivals when Gnawing Hunger reigned supreme. Auto rifles will be getting a 25% damage buff against red and orange bar enemies next season, which is a massive change and will definitely help ARs contend with SMGs in endgame content moving forward. Today's list includes 3 top tier auto rifles, and the first one on the list is the Quicksilver Storm. This 720 RPM auto rifle is already a popular choice in PvE, and the upcoming 25% damage bonus will only make it better. Keep in mind that this buff is in addition to the 40% damage increase exotics received just a few seasons ago, so this thing will be hitting like an absolute truck. Quicksilver Storm's catalyst also changed the weapon to Strand, which offers some incredible utility with Strand-related artifact mods. The only downside to this is that Strand and Stasis weapons deal 15% less damage than their kinetic counterparts, which means that the catalyst has technically made this weapon slightly less efficient for ad clear, but it will actually hit harder than before with the buff next season, along with providing bonus Strand utility. If you have this vaulted, definitely get ready to slay with this thing next season. The next auto rifle on our list is the Sweet Sorrow. This 720 RPM auto has one of the most unique roles in the game, with stats for all in column 3 and 1 for all in column 4. So not only will this hit harder with the 25% buff, simply tag 3 targets, and this perk combination gives you top tier reload speed, handling, stability, range, and a 35% damage bonus for 10 seconds. Pair this with Land Tank, and you've got a free 30 resilience and 15% damage resist as well, making it one of the best primary weapons in the game. Though this weapon is not currently obtainable, it will likely be sold through Xur's inventory in the coming months, so be sure to keep an eye out for it if you don't own it already. The last auto on our list is one you may have actually forgotten about, but may just be the best auto rifle in Destiny. The Last Breath is a 600 RPM auto that comes from the Prophecy dungeon and can be farmed from the Cube Room encounter. This auto rifle has one of the best roles in the game, with Demolitionist in column 3 and Frenzy in column 4. Though Sweet Sorrow offers passive stat benefits, the Last Breath provides grenade regen thanks to Demolitionist, which is highly sought after in the current meta, while Frenzy provides a 15% damage bonus while simultaneously boosting weapon handling and reload speed while you're in combat. This perk combination is extremely rare on primary weapons, and when auto rifles have been meta in the past, adaptive autos have always been a consistent go-to archetype, including the likes of Gnawing Hunger and the Summoner, just to name a few. With that said, rotating weekly dungeons have made this an absolute pain to farm for, so if you have it, great, but if you don't, you can get a similar output from Rufus's Fury, the newly craftable 720 RPM auto from the Root of Nightmares. Though this weapon suffers from the same Strand damage reduction that Quicksilver Storm does, it also rolls with Demolitionist and Frenzy and is much easier to farm for, making it a great addition to your arsenal next season. The next set of weapons I want to cover today are sniper rifles, specifically the rapid fire frames, and these probably have me the most excited of any weapon type in today's video. First off, snipers will receive a flat 10% damage increase across the board in PvE, and second, rapid fire snipers will be double dipping on these buffs, as their recoil is being reduced by a staggering 50%, while their total ammo capacity is also being increased by 30%. These three changes will help bring rapid-fire snipers back into relevancy, because it will not only be significantly easier to hit your shots, they'll be doing even more damage by fulfilling their burst DPS role, while also adding some sustained damage with the increased reserves. These buffs are significant, and this weapon type may just emerge as a go-to DPS option next season, especially when paired with something like Anarchy or Rockets in the heavy slot. And one sniper to keep your eye on is Predas Revenge, which could see a massive value surge next season, as it comes with the most efficient ammo refunding perk in rewind rounds and has crazy damage synergy when paired with high impact reserves. In its current state, this roll allows you to fire 14 consecutive bullets without reloading, and with the increased magazine sizes next season, this number could get all the way up to 17 straight shots. Stack Anarchy or Rockets on top of that, and we have some crazy damage potential on our hands. This weapon comes from the Vault of Glass and can be farmed from both the Oracles and Atheon encounters, and if you aren't able to get access to Predas Revenge, the Irukandji, Distant Tumulus, and Ikelos sniper rifles are solid alternatives and can be acquired from general world drops if you're a solo player. Next up, we have a weapon that I am by far the most excited for next season, and that is Cloudstrike. This weapon has been in and out of relevancy several times over the last few years, and these changes could finally see it rise to the top of the PvE meta. It's always been solid, but Cloudstrike recently had a catalyst added to the game, which grants this weapon triple tap for free ammo on every third precision hit. And since Cloudstrike is also a rapid fire sniper, it will benefit from both sets of the sniper rifle buffs and will now receive increased ammo reserves, a 50% recoil buff, and 10% more damage as well. Pair this with the fact that it also has an exotic perk that rains lightning down on the target and can be paired with auto-loading rockets and grenade launchers in the heavy slot, and we have a top tier DPS contender next season. The next noteworthy set of buffs are a flat 20% damage increase to pulse rifles, hand cannons, and sidearms in PvE. With the exception of a few outliers, these three weapon types have struggled to stay relevant for quite some time now, but this buff will definitely help close the gap, so let's cover a few of each weapon type that you should be looking out for. First up, we have pulse rifles, and we're gonna kick things off with Outbreak Perfected. This is a Destiny 1 fan favorite and has made its name in D2 by providing clutch primary weapon DPS against day 1 raid bosses with difficult damage checks. This weapon's nanite swarms already deal solid damage in PvE, and a 20% damage buff should give this weapon the extra oomph that it needs to consistently spawn nanite swarms in underleveled content. The more that we can proc this perk, the better this weapon becomes, and this buff also applies to the nanite swarm damage as well. 20% may not sound like much, but this may just be the season Outbreak finally reaches its full potential. The last pulse rifle on our list is the BXR Battler. This weapon has already been a fan favorite, and the 20% buff will help this become a must-pick next season. With Demolitionist in Column 3 and Incandescent in Column 4, this weapon offers top-tier utility and ad clear, all while synergizing with the highly popular solar builds. Pair this with the fact that this weapon has unrivaled versatility thanks to its hipfire accuracy, and you've got a beast at all ranges. This weapon can be acquired from the Dares of Eternity within the 30th Anniversary DLC, and I highly recommend farming one of these if you haven't already. Next up, we have hand cannons, and kicking us off, we have the Sunshot. The fact that this weapon is getting a buff is actually wild to me, because this is already one of the best exotic primaries in the game. Sunburn gives this weapon intrinsic explosive rounds, which essentially maxes out its range stat. Meanwhile, the exotic perk Sunblast provides an amplified version of Incandescent and does incredible amounts of damage in PvE. Add an additional 20% damage on top of this, and factor in its insane base stats, and you've got a top tier weapon on your hands. Sunshot is already used in endgame content, and I'd expect to see this thing a hell of a lot more next season. Rounding out our hand cannons, we have a weapon that is already a top tier primary in endgame content. Fatebringer is the ultimate workhorse and comes with several perk combinations that absolutely wreck underleveled activities. You can go with the curated Destiny 1 role in Explosive Payload and Firefly, or my personal preferred role in Explosive Payload and Frenzy. These two perks combine for a near 30% damage bonus, which makes it hit like a truck with both perks active. It's one of the few hand cannons that's actually felt decent in endgame content over the last few seasons, and the 20% damage buff should help take it to another level. This weapon comes from the Vault of Glass, and the adept version of this weapon can be earned by completing the Master Templar Raid Challenge. If you don't have one of these and don't have a team to farm this with, swing on by the stream at twitch.tv/above and let me know you're from YouTube so we can get you into a Master Templar help later this season. And last but not least, we have Brighams Law, the only sidearm present on today's list. Though I think weapons like the Trespasser and Forerunner could go pretty hard next season, they didn't quite make the cut this time around. Brighams Law was introduced during the Season of Plunder and was one of the first weapons to ever roll with Volt Shot. This perk not only destroys on-level content, it actually scales well in underleveled activities because of the jolt that Volt Shot provides. The 20% damage buff will make the Volt Shot chaining even more consistent, making it highly competitive with the Ikelos SMG, which is currently one of the best primary weapons in the game. Similar to the Sweet Sorrow, this weapon is not currently obtainable, but may rotate through Xur's inventory in the coming months, so be sure to keep an eye out for it. Anyways guys, that's gonna do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, a like and subscription would be greatly appreciated, and be sure to let me know down in the comments if there's any weapons I may have missed that you guys are excited for next season. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace!